Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. Did you know that the kitchen is the most ablest room in the home, meaning it can be the most challenging to navigate for people with disabilities? Well, a new cookbook strives to crip up the kitchen in order to make it an accessible and enjoyable space for the disabled and neurodivergent cook. We'll talk about it with our featured guest tonight, a food photographer from Duncan, BC. He is an outspoken advocate for disability and trans rights, the author of Crip Up the Kitchen. He is Jules Sherred. Jules, hello, and thanks for beaming in tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Absolutely. So for able-bodied folks who haven't thought about this before, what are some of the common challenges that people with disabilities face when they're in the kitchen?
Some of the biggest ones have to do with navigating the kitchen. The work triangle is no longer like functional, and it is more meant now for aesthetics. And so everything from counter heights are too tall, stove placement to fridge placement, even like my kitchen, which was recently remodeled and is supposed to be wide enough for a wheelchair. I cannot navigate my wheelchair around the corners because it is just enough room between like the fridge and the counter. So how storage is organized, all that stuff, like just the basic functionality is not functional.
And so your book isn't just a cookbook with recipes. It is a guide for cooking safely, for meal planning, shopping, pantry prep. Obviously, we can't go through everything in your book, but what are some examples to make cooking more accessible?
One of the things that I was really like, Jules, when I realized it, was using my table for prep space, because that's what my Nana used to do. Like all of our grandmothers did that. I want to say all of them is they would sit down and they would prep at the table. And that's what the table was for in a kitchen. Like an eating kitchen was actually a prepping kitchen. So just things like that, sitting down while prepping, using things like shoe racks for vertical storage. So you can keep all your often used stuff all in one place. It's all about keeping everything you used within hand's reach, within eyesight, so you don't forget you have it, and in an area that you can reach easily and safely while you're sitting down. That's one thing. Instead of like doing meal prep for a week in advance, you want to do meal prep for a month in advance. And that sounds like a little bit ridiculous, like, hey, Jules, what are you talking about? And what I'm talking about is you spend like an hour, which is a long time when you're disabled, but you do it like in breaks where you pre-chop all your onions that you would use typically in a month, all your vegetables, you put them in freezer containers or vacuum seal them, and you throw them in the freezer. And so all it is when it's ready to cook is you just pull the thing out of the freezer and it's ready to go. And you don't have to worry about that thing that you prep for the week going to waste because suddenly you don't have the energy to cook it. Right. So it's all about making sure your freezer is prepared with chopped ingredients, and your pantry has a lot of staples in it so that you can cook whenever you're able and not really have to put too much thought into it.
And really your book hinges upon three core cooking appliances, right?
Mm-hmm. The electric pressure cooker, air fryer, and bread machine. So mostly the electric pressure cooker because it's the easiest to use for the most people, with other recipes in it as well.
I just bought one and I love it. So moving on, I want to talk about this interesting theory in your book called spoon theory. Can you explain spoon theory and then how this relates to meal prep and cooking?
So the spoon theory is that, okay, let me back up. My brain does a thing sometimes where I want to leap forward. So most people, able people, have cups of energy that they can use throughout the day. And those cups are easily replenished. Like you can just like maybe sit down for 10 minutes and you're good to go again, or rest for half an hour. With people who are chronically ill, disabled, neurodivergent, we have spoons of energy, and those spoons can take up to a week to replenish one spoon. So we have less energy to use, and it takes much more time to replenish the energy. So we have to be very mindful about what we do and not overcommit ourselves to a lot of things. And so the way that I go about encouraging people to plan is that check in with your body. Well, first you have to make a chart. And if I can bring up my chart really, really quickly, this is the one that I used when I was making this book. And so and it takes a while to make it for you. And it's basically you check in with your body, you see how many spoons you have, and then you pick your activities based on how many spoons you have. You check in again later in the day, you do the process again, and the goal is when you check in the third time that you have at least one spoon left at the end of the day. And if you don't, no big deal, you just need to tweak your system.
Fascinating. Now, the book itself, it looks like a regular book, but it is also designed and built to be accessible, right?
Yeah, so the first thing that I'm really happy about is that it's flat lay binding. So if you don't have a book stand or other ways like clamps to keep it open in the kitchen, you just lay it flat, like you open it up and it lays flat. Library binding is another term for it. And then there are a bunch of patterns throughout the book there's a bunch of food stories and food histories. So behind each of those stories is patterning, and that's to help soothe neurodivergent brains as they're looking through it. The way that everything is organized for where you'll find pictures, where you'll find food stories, where everything is repetitive. That's another thing to soothe neurodivergent brains and make it easier for them to navigate the book. And then there are things that you won't find in other recipe books, like equipment lists, because people with certain types of neurodivergence, they get overwhelmed. Like you tell somebody with a neurodivergent brain to clean the kitchen, as an example. What does that mean? There's like they all of a sudden find 20 different things, and then those have 20 different things, and they just get so overwhelmed just by that one thing that a lot of people think is, what do you mean? You don't understand what that means. So I have equipment lists so that people with neurodivergent brains do not get overwhelmed just by that step alone. Like, what do I need to cook? And then there's a reminder to prepare a mise en place, because that's another thing a lot of cooks forget to do. And that helps to make the whole process quicker, faster. All the tips and substitutions are before the instructions for the recipe, so that when you're doing your shopping lists, you have all that information there. Usually that's at the bottom of the recipe, and a lot of neurodivergent brains won't know, or they do know, but you can't expect them to do it, to read a whole entire recipe first before doing that stuff. So it's all that stuff's there. Plus there's like heat index, how to store it, and then some other features that just identify points of failure for disabled and neurodivergent folks in the kitchen and gives them different coping strategies and that information when they need it instead of when they are expected to use it.
So cool. Jules, I appreciate your time tonight. Congratulations on the release of such a beautiful cookbook.
Thank you.
Folks, he is Jules Sherred. Be sure to pick up his book, Crip Up the Kitchen, wherever you buy your books, and make sure you check with your local bookstore first. Now, after some business, did you know that BC's second largest city, Surrey, was named one of the next great food cities by Food and Wine magazine? And it's not just about the Indian food. So let's talk about Surrey's Spice Trail up next.